Hey guys, this is Tyler and Christian from Treasury Orange. Today we got something special planned for you guys. We're doing our first news recap, so bear with us while we kind of iron out the kinks, but we're going to bring to you the latest news action with Bitcoin Treasury companies. Here we go. So Christian, let's talk about Nakamoto.
Yeah, Nakamoto just went through, got some pipe action going on.
Yeah, so if you want to bring up a shot of their stock price over the last day. Let's go to the monthly chart for Nakamoto. So, if you guys don't know, Nakamoto is David Bailey's baby. They reverse merged with Kindly MD, and this stock is down how much over the last month, Christian?
About $10.81.
So yeah, we're down about 90% in just 1 month. So this is what happens. The company was basically a shell company. There was a lot of exuberance. It started trading up to a couple $100 million in market cap. And then a couple of these pure play Bitcoin treasury companies like Nakamoto did, as Christian said, is like a pipe deal. So that's where outside investors come in and fund the reverse merger. So PIPE stands for private investment in public equity. So they're bringing in money to launch the first Bitcoin purchases for Nakamoto. They raised a couple $100 million, and all of those guys got in at a super low share price and have been dumping the stock for the last, couple days. And that was registered with the SEC, and you can take a look. Their price went down 55% just yesterday, September 15th. With these Bitcoin pure play treasury companies, buyer beware, right?
Well, given the fact that these pipe holders got in at such a low relative share price compared to what they're currently at, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it having some absolute issue.
Totally. I am long Nakamoto, and I'm down 96% in the last 3 months. Yes, yesterday, David Bailey put out this long letter to shareholders basically saying, we're sorry the share price has collapsed. We don't know what's going on. But like the writing was on the wall, and we've been kind of talking about this for a couple of weeks here at Treasury Orange, that there's just so much incentive for these pipe guys to sell. Because if Nakamoto's trading at 12, 13, 14, $15, and you got in at a couple bucks a share, all the incentives are aligned for you to just sell as soon as you can, right?
I
Because
mean, a good 5x portfolio in what?
a couple
A
months.
couple months? I think I would take that if I was a fund manager as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I wish I had a couple $100 million to splash around and get a quick 5x or 3x on.
Those private investors, man, they get good deals.
Yeah. So the CEO, like I said, David Bailey, I got a lot of faith in him as a CEO, but the letter he released yesterday was kind of cringe. It sounds like it was generated by AI and said, we're going to turn this around. I do think they are going to turn around, but sentiment is absolutely in the crapper right now. If X is any indication of what's going on, I think we're in for some turbulent times. Bitcoin's been kind of chopping around, and where these Bitcoin treasury companies are downstream of the price of Bitcoin, these guys are just going to get hammered until sentiment turns around. So I don't know how that's going to happen. Maybe once they actually start accumulating the Bitcoin, putting the Bitcoin on their balance sheet, things will turn around. A lot of people are saying, I don't want to get invested in one of these companies unless they have an operating business that's generating cash flow, kind of like strategy.
Some proven, some proof of reserves, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So speaking of a pipe situation, we have the ASST Strive merge, and some of the people that got invested in that pipe are making out pretty well, I've heard.
Yeah. So Strive, which is Vivek Ramaswamy's company, the CEO is Matt Cole, former California pension fixed income manager. We talked about them in our most recent deep dive. So yeah, if you haven't watched that yet, check out our channel and go into that deep dive of ASST. So Strive reverse merged into ASST, which is a company that would set up discords for corporations to get their community engaged. And basically they're a small, tiny company who compared to Strive is just a shell. But this was a way for Strive to backdoor IPO their company without a lot of the regulatory hurdles. Interestingly, ASST asset entities had a shelf offering on the table already. So that allows the newly formed Strive to issue shares at the market, like we've seen MSTR and some other Bitcoin treasuries do. So they've already got a $450 million shelf registered with the SEC, so they can start selling shares essentially in the
Right
near
off the
future.
rip. Yep.
Yeah, so they don't normally, if you IPO a company or you're doing like a SPAC acquisition that way, you have to wait a year to be able to register to sell shares. So that's why these reverse mergers have kind of become in vogue. So yeah, talking about the pipe as far as Strive is concerned. Now I know this one a lot better than the intricacies of Nakamoto because we did that recent video. Pipe investors got in at $1.35 per share, and Strive was trading up to upwards of $15 at one point a couple months ago. I bought a lot of shares in the $7 range. What's happening with the pipe? $750 million are coming in to buy Bitcoin, which is great. Awesome. We want to see them do that. But that also brought 555 million shares into the market that were just created out in thin air for the pipe investors. And they got in at 135 a share. So again, same situation as Nakamoto. If you got in at $1.35 per share because you were an institutional investor who was investing through this pipe transaction and the stock's trading at $5, $6, $7, $8, what are you going to do on day one? Which I don't think I've been pouring through SEC filings today. I don't even think the pipe has been registered yet. So I don't think there's actually been sell pressure. But as soon as it does,
People anticipating it, you think is what
yeah,
has been a big
reverse
downward.
front running.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you do, Christian, if the stock's trading at $5 a share and you invested at $1.35? Are you going to wait a year for long-term capital gains tax treatment?
The next best thing to the 5x portfolio is the 3x portfolio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't be complaining about
Yeah.
that. To that end, so you're saying that they are utilizing a reverse merger instead of a SPAC to avoid regulatory hurdles. Is that correct?
Exactly. There's reduced regulatory burden, and they can sell shares at the market from the jump.
Which is what their recent SEC filing was to be able to issue shares.
Yeah, they've done a slew of them. There is an SEC filing. I think it's an S3 form, which will register those pipe shares. Like I said, 555 million of them. Not only that, there's another $750 million in warrants that'll be coming in down the road, and that's going to be another 555.5 million shares at $1.35. That allows those pipe investors to re-up and put immediate sell pressure onto the stock. So this works if there's a ton of bullish sentiment around the stock. I'm bullish on Strive long term. I just think in the near term, it's a little scary out there. Like buyer beware, right?
Yep. And I mean, to the point of the shelf offering versus the pipe, like that's almost, about a little bit more than half of the total dilution that the pipe investor is coming into the market is going to have, right?
Right.
That shelf offering is probably also pushing the price down due to concerns for dilution as well.
Near
right?
term. Certainly.
Yeah, near term for sure.
I think it's something they should have in their toolkit. Every Bitcoin treasury company should definitely be able to sell shares when they're trading at a high premium to their Bitcoin holdings. We call that MNAV, right? That's the buzzword.
Classic MNAV.
Classic MNAV. We talked about for the last year. We were talking about it on strategy.
Probably 2 years at this point.
Yeah, we've been talking about it on strategy. Maybe we didn't use the word MNAV for a while, but a company that just went public or just reverse merged like Strive, they should trade at a huge MNAV at first if they're accumulating a lot of Bitcoin, right? Because I think MNAV is not only sentiment, but it's like how much Bitcoin per share can a company add in the next 3, 6, 12 months, right? And a company that just goes public should be able to accumulate more Bitcoin per share if they're adding leverage, right?
Well, that's ultimately what it's going to boil down to. If Strive comes out of the gate, even with the potential dilution short term with the shelf offering, if they're able to acquire $1 billion plus in associated leverage, I mean, that on its own can double your MNAV if you're able to throw, what's their total valuation right now?
Yeah, so take a look. It should be, the market cap should be right on that Robinhood page.
Yeah, so they're 1.63 billion market cap total right now.
Okay, so that does include the pipe investment.
So I'm saying if they can come out with another 1 billion in leverage from whether it be loans, etc.
Right. So interestingly, they're coming to market with no leverage. They have no debt. They have those warrants, which again is going to be another $750 million in probable sell pressure if they're trading above 135. But they have no debt. And we've talked about their alpha strategy. Just to recap what Strive's alpha strategy, which is kind of new to the Bitcoin treasury space. They're looking to acquire biotech companies at a discount to their cash on the balance sheet. So, say you're XYZ company, you had a failed trial, and you have $100 million of cash on your balance sheet, but your market cap's only 70 million because you had
Mhm.
that failed, you know, failed clinical trial.
Mhm.
The market isn't valuing you even at your cash. What Strive is going to do, they're going to try to come in and maybe offer $85 million as a buyout, help you wind down operations. The shareholders will approve that acquisition in all likelihood because that allows them to get out of their underwater investment. And Strive's happy to just pocket the cash and buy Bitcoin with it. And according to their CEO, Matt Cole, it's kind of a generational time to do that in the biotech space. So,
So this sounds relatively close to like private equity when they purchase delinquent, let's say hospitals,
yeah,
major
like
businesses,
a leverage.
etc., and then they effectively liquidate all the assets to regain their capital back, usually plus additional. It's
Exactly.
similar in that
Yeah,
vein.
like a leverage buyout, just like that.
Yeah.
Another thing they're trying to do with their so-called alpha strategy, so that they can accrete more Bitcoin, is buying some claims to distressed Bitcoin assets. So, like the Mt. Gox hack that happened in 2014, there's people who are still owed their Bitcoin and haven't gotten paid out yet. Some institutions or bigger players, and they've held on to those coins for going on 11 years now.
Hmm.
And there's a secondary market for those assets, and Strive allegedly has kind of a right of first refusal on those where they can buy those Bitcoin because they have a low time preference. They want to add in as much Bitcoin as possible, whereas those people who have those coins or the claims on those coins want the cash because they want to improve their life. They're billionaires. They've made $100 million in paper gains and they want to cash out, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's another arbitrage opportunity for Strive.
I mean,
Um,
imagine how happy you'd be getting stuck with the Mount Gox situation, right? Now that it's over 100K per Bitcoin,
yeah,
right? The fact that you are forced to hold it
right.
while Bitcoin 2x'd.
Yeah. Maybe those people don't want to sell because maybe they're like the most legendary Bitcoin maximalists ever,
Yeah.
like because
Yeah.
they totally get it because they've been forced holding
Yeah.
from $300 to
Yeah. Yeah.
115,000, but crazy. Um, yeah, I mean, again, buyer beware on Strive right now. I'm so bullish on their team. Matt Cole brings a real institutional kind of fixed income portfolio mind because he worked for the biggest pension in the United States,
Mhm.
CalPERS. I think having Jeff Walton on board, punter Jeff, from MSTR True North.
Ah, what a
I think
lovely name.
he's a great community builder in the space. I've learned a ton from him.
Yeah.
That's news today too, right? We heard that Drive acquired True North,
Yep. Yep.
their media company. So that's can't miss TV for me every Wednesday night. I stay up
Mhm.
late. My wife loves it. I'm watching Bitcoin Treasury content. But to have those guys as like the media arm for your company, I'm curious to see how that works out. I'm curious to see if there's conflict of interest there and what the content looks like moving forward. But those guys are awesome.
The acquisition makes total sense. Strive as a media building, social media connecting as part of their primary, goal cell. You're saying Discord servers before, like it makes sense they're trying to get further into the media space.
It does. That's kind of our recap on what's happened today in Bitcoin Treasury news. These companies are reaping what they've sown with the pipe investments. Sentiment's in the toilet as it is across the Bitcoin Treasury space, I think, for retail investors. And it's just a trying time. We're still bullish on Bitcoin treasuries in
Mhm.
general. Even the pure play ones, we'll see how they perform. But, we're long several Bitcoin treasury companies here at Treasury Orange. We're going to keep covering it. It's just, can you endure that short term pain?
I have. I have been.
Same, brother. All right.
All right.
For Christian, I'm Tyler from Treasury Orange. Stay orange, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.